Chapter 36. The Parting of the Ways. Dumbledore stood up. He stared down at Barty Crouch for a moment with disgust on his face. Then he raised his wand once more and ropes flew out of it. Ropes which twisted themselves around Barty Crouch, binding him tightly. He turned to Professor McGonagall. "Minerva, could I ask you to stand guard here while I take Harry upstairs?" "Of course," said Professor McGonagall. She looked slightly nauseous, as though she had just watched someone being sick. However, when she drew out her wand and pointed it at Barty Crouch, her hand was quite steady. "Severus," Dumbledore turned to Snape, "please tell Madame Pomfrey to come down here. We need to get Alastor Moody into the hospital wing. Then go down into the grounds, find Cornelius Fudge, and bring him up to this office. He will undoubtedly want to question Crouch himself. Tell him I will be in the hospital wing in half an hour's time if he needs me." Snape nodded silently and swept out of the room. "Harry," Dumbledore said gently. Harry got up and swayed again. The pain in his leg, which he had noticed all the time he had listened to Crouch, now returned in full measure. He also realized that he was shaking. Dumbledore gripped his arm and helped him out into the dark corridor. "I want you to come up to my office first, Harry," he said quietly as they headed up the passageway. "Sirius is waiting for us there." Harry nodded. A kind of numbness and a sense of complete unreality were upon him, but he did not care. He was even glad of it. He didn't want to have to think about anything that had happened since he had first touched the Triwizard Cup. He didn't want to have to examine the memories, fresh and sharp as photographs, which kept flashing across his mind. Mad-Eye Moody inside the trunk, Wormtail slumped on the ground cradling his stump of an arm, Voldemort rising from the steaming cauldron, Cedric dead, Cedric asking to be returned to his parents. "Professor," Harry mumbled, "where are Mr. and Mrs. Diggory?" "They are with Professor Sprout," said Dumbledore. His voice, which had been so calm throughout the interrogation of Barty Crouch, shook very slightly for the first time. She was head of Cedric's house and knew him best.
To reach the stone gradually, Dumbledore gave the password in Spanish side, and he and Harry went up the moving spiral staircase to the oak door. Dumbledore pushed it open. Sirius was standing there. His face was white and gaunt, as it had been when he had escaped Azkaban. In one swift moment, he had crossed the room. "Harry, are you all right? I know it. I know something like this. What happened?" His hand shook as he helped Harry into a chair in front of the desk. "What happened?" he asked more urgently. Dumbledore began to tell Sirius everything Barty Crouch had said. Harry was only half listening. So tired, every bone in his body was aching. He wanted nothing more than to sit here, undisturbed for hours and hours, until he fell asleep and didn't have to think or feel anymore. There was a soft rush of wings. Fawkes the Phoenix had left his perch, flown across the office and landed on Harry's knee. "Hello, Fawkes," said Harry quietly. He stroked the Phoenix's beautiful scarlet and gold plumage. Fawkes blinked peacefully up at him. There was something comforting about his warm weight. Dumbledore had stopped talking. He sat down opposite Harry. Behind his desk he was looking at Harry, who avoided his eyes. Dumbledore was going to question him. He was going to make Harry relive everything. "I need to know what happened after you touched the porky in the maze," Harry said. Dumbledore. "We can leave that till morning, can't we, Dumbledore?" said Sirius harshly. He had put a hand on Harry's shoulder. "Let him have a sleep. Let him rest."
Harry felt a rush of gratitude towards Sirius, but Dumbledore took no notice of Sirius' words. He leaned forward towards Harry. Very unwillingly, Harry raised his head and looked into those blue eyes. "If I thought I could help you," Dumbledore said gently, "by putting you into an enchanted sleep and allowing you to postpone the moment when you would have to think about what has happened tonight, I would do it. But I know better. Numbing the pain for a while will make it worse, and when you finally feel it, you have shown bravery beyond anything I could have expected of you. I ask you to demonstrate your courage one more time. I ask you to tell us what happened." The Phoenix let out one soft, quavering note. It shivered in the air, and Harry felt as though a drop of hot liquid had slipped down his throat into his stomach, warming him and strengthening him. He took a deep breath and began to tell them. As he spoke, visions of everything that had passed that night seemed to rise before his eyes. He saw the sparkling surface of the potion which had revived Voldemort. He saw the Death Eaters apparating between the graves around them. He saw Cedric's body lying on the ground beside the cup. Once or twice Sirius made a noise as though about to say something, his hand still tight on Harry's shoulder, but Dumbledore raised his hand to stop him. And Harry was glad of this, because it was easier to keep going now he had started. It was even a relief. He felt almost as though something poisonous was being extracted from him. It was costing him every bit of determination he had to keep talking. Yet he sensed that once he had finished, he would feel better.
When Harry thought of Wormtail piercing his arm with the dagger, however, Sirius let out a vehement exclamation, and Dumbledore stood up so quickly that Harry started. Dumbledore walked around the desk and told Harry to stretch out his arm. Harry showed them both the place where his ropes were torn and the cut beneath them. He said my blood would make him stronger, that if he'd used someone else's. Harry told Dumbledore. He said the protection my mother left in me, he'd have it too. And he was right. He could touch me without hurting himself. He touched my face. For a fleeting instant, Harry thought he saw a gleam of something like triumph in Dumbledore's eyes. But the next second, Harry was sure he had imagined it, for when Dumbledore had returned to his seat behind the desk, he looked as old and weary as Harry had ever seen him. "Very well," he said, sitting down again. Voldemort had overcome that particular barrier. Harry, continue, please. Harry went on. He explained how Voldemort had emerged from the cauldron and told them all he remembered of Voldemort's speech to the Death Eaters, when he told how Voldemort had untied him, returned his wand to him, and prepared to duel.
But when he reached the part where the golden beam of light had connected his and Voldemort's wand, he found his throat abstracted. He tried to keep talking, but the memories of what had come out of Voldemort's wand were flooding into his mind. He could see Cedric emerging, see the old man, Bertha Jorkins, his mother, his father. He was glad when Sirius broke the silence. "The wand's connected?" he said, looking from Harry to Dumbledore. "Why?" Harry looked up again at Dumbledore, on whose face was an arrested look. "Priori incantatem," he muttered. His eyes gazed into Harry's, and it was almost as though an invisible beam of understanding shot between them. "The reverse spell effect?" said Sirius sharply. "Exactly," said Dumbledore. "Harry's wand and Voldemort's wand share cores. Each of them contains a feather from the tail of the same phoenix. This phoenix, in fact," he'd added, and he pointed at the scarlet and gold bird perching peacefully on Harry's knee. "My wand's feather came from Fawkes?" Harry said, amazed. "Yes," said Dumbledore. "Mr. Ollivander wrote to tell me you had bought the second wand the moment he left his shop 4 years ago. So what happened when the wand meets his brother?" said Sirius. "They will not walk properly against each other," said Dumbledore. "If, however, the owner of the wand forces the wand to do battle, a very rare effect will take place. One of the wands will force the other to regurgitate spell it has performed, in reverse. The most recent first, and then those which preceded it." He looked interrogatively at Harry, and Harry nodded. "Which means," said Dumbledore slowly, his eyes upon Harry's face, "that some form of Cedric must have reappeared." Harry nodded again. "Diggory came back to life?" said Sirius sharply. "No, spell reawakened the dead," said Dumbledore heavily. "All that would have happened is a kind of reverse echo. A shadow of the living Cedric would have emerged from the wand. Am I correct, Harry?" "He spoke to me," Harry said. He was suddenly shaking again. The ghost, Cedric, or whatever he was, spoke. "An echo," said Dumbledore, "which retained Cedric's appearance and character. I am guessing other such a form appeared. less recent victim of Voldemort's wand. An old man, Harry said, his throat still constricted. Berta Jorkin and your parents? Said Dumbledore quietly. Yes, said Harry. Sirius's grip on Harry's shoulder was now so tightly it was painful. The last murders the wand performed, said Dumbledore nodding. In reverse order, more would have appeared, of course. Had you maintained the connection? Very well, Harry. These echoes, these shadows, what did they do? Harry described how the figures which had emerged from the wand had crawled the edges of the golden web, how Voldemort had seemed to fear them, how the shadow of Harry's father had told him what to do, how Cedric had made his final request.
At this point, Harry found he could not continue. He looked around at Sirius and saw that he had his face in his hands. Harry suddenly became aware the fox had left his knee. The phoenix had fluttered to the floor. It was resting its beautiful head against Harry's injured leg, and thick, pearly tears were falling from its eyes onto the wand left by the spider. The pain vanished, the skin mended, his leg was repaired. I will say it again, said Dumbledore as the phoenix rose into the air and resettled itself upon the perch beside the door. You have shown bravery beyond anything I could have expected of you tonight, Harry. You have shown bravery equal to those who died fighting Voldemort at the height of his power. You have shouldered a grown wizard's burden and found yourself equal to it, and you have now given us all that we have a right to expect. You will come with me to the hospital wing. I don't want you returning to the dormitory tonight. A sleeping potion and some peace. Sirius, would you like to stay with it? Sirius nodded and stood up. He transformed back into the great black dog and walked with Harry and Dumbledore out of the office, accompanying them down a flight of stairs to the hospital wing. When Dumbledore pushed open the door, Harry saw Mr. Weasley, Bill, Ron, and Hermione grouped round a embarrassed-looking Madame Pomfrey. They appeared to the demanding to know where Harry was and what had happened to him. All of them whipped around as Harry, Dumbledore, and the black dog entered, and Mr. Weasley let out a kind of muffled scream. Harry! Oh, Harry!
To Harry towards him, but Dumbledore moved between them. Molly, he said, holding up a hand. Please listen to me for a moment. Harry has been through a terrible ordeal tonight. He has just had to relieve it for me. What he needs now is sleep and peace and quiet. If the like you to stay with him, he added, looking around, and Ron, Hermione, and Bill too. You might do so, but I do not want you questioning him until he is ready to answer, and certainly not his evening. Miss Weasley thought she was very white. She rounded and Ron, Hermione, and Bill as found the very dying nosely, and he needs quiet. Headmaster said, Madame Pomfrey, starting at the great black dog. They were serious. May I ask what his dog will be remaining with Harry for a white sad. Dumbledore simply assure you he is extremely well trained. Harry will wait while you get info that.
Harry felt an inexpressible sense of gratitude to Dumbledore for asking the other not to question him. It was although he didn't want them there, but the thought of explaining it all over again. The idea of reliving it one more time was more than he could stand. I will be back to see you as soon as I have met with Fudge, Harry, said Dumbledore. I would like you to remind he tomorrow until I have spoken to the school. He left. As Madame Pomfrey led Harry to a nearby bed, he caught sign of the real moody lying, motionless in the bed at the far end of the room. His wooden leg and magical eye were lying on the bedside table. "Is he okay?" Harry asked. He'll be fine," said Madame Pomfrey, giving Harry some pyjamas and pulling screens around him. He took off his robes, pulled on the pyjamas and got into bed. Ron, Hermione, Bill, Mr. Weasley and the black dog come around the screen and settled themselves in chairs on either side of him. Ron and Hermione were looking at him almost cautiously as though scared of him.
"I'm all right," he told them, just tired. Mistress Weasley's eyes filled with tears as she smoothed his bed covers initially. Madame Pomfrey, who had busted off to her office, returned holding a goblet and a small bottle of some purple potion. "You'll need to drink all of this, Harry," she said. "It's a potion for dreamless sleep." Harry took the goblet and drank a few mouthfuls. He left himself becoming drowsy at once. Everything around him became hazy. The lamps around the hospital wing seemed to be winking at him in a friendly way through the screen around his bed. His body felt as though it was sinking deeper into the warmth of the feather mattress. Before he could finish the potion, before he could say another word, his exhaustion had carried him off to sleep. Harry woke up, so warm, so well sleepy that he didn't open his eyes, wanting to drop off again. The room was still dimly lit. He was sure it was still night time, and had a feeling that he couldn't have been asleep very long. Then he heard whispering around him. "They'll wake him if they don't shut up. What are they shooting about? Nothing else can have happened, can it?" Harry opened his eyes greedily. Someone had removed his glass. He could see the frieze. Outline of Mr. Weasley and Bill close by. Mr. Weasley was on her feet. "That huge voice," she whispered, "and that mirror, Mr. McGonagall, isn't it? But what are they around about?" Now Harry could hear them, two people shooting and running towards the hospital wing. Irritable, but all the same, Mirror Gorley Fudge was saying loudly, "You should never have been in the castle," yelled Professor McGonagall. When Dumbledore found out, Harry had hospital doors burst open. Untable on any of the people around his bed. All of one were starting at the door as Will pulled back the screen. Harry sat up and put his glass back on. Fudge came starting up the ward. Professor McGonagall and Snape were at his heels. "Where McGonagall?" Fudge demanded of Mr. Weasley. "He is not here," said Mr. Weasley angrily. "This is a hospital wing. Mister, don't you think you do better too?" But the door opened, and Dumbledore came whizzing off the ward. "What has happened?" said Dumbledore sharply, looking for Fudge of Professor McGonagall. "Why are you disturbing these people? Mirabel, I'm surprised at you. I asking you to stand ground of bed couch. There is not need to state breath of him anymore. Dumbledore, she striking the Mister has been to that."
Harry never see Professor McGonagall lose control like this. There were angry blotches of color in her cheeks. Her hands were balled into fists. She was trembling with fury. When we told Mr. Fudge that we had caught the Death Eater responsible for tonight, Evans said Snape in a low voice. He seemed to feel his personal safety was in question. He insisted on summoning a Dementor to accompany him into the class. He brought in up to the office. We Barty crowd told him you would not agree. Dumbledore stormed Professor McGonagall. I told him you would never allow Dementor to set fun incident the cause, but my dear woman, word charge, who was look angrier when Harry had ever. See him as minister for magic. It the my chance whether I wish to bring protection with me when interviewing possible dangers, but Professor McGonagall's voice drowned Fudge's. The moment that thing entered the room, she screamed, pointing at Fudge. Trembling all over, it swooped down on Crouch and Harry felt a chill in his stomach as Professor McGonagall struck to find words. To describe what had happened, he did not need her to finish her sentence. He knew what the Dementor must have done. It had administered its fatal kiss to Barty Crouch. It had sucked his soul out through his mouth. He was worse than then. By all accounts, he in no loss blustered Fudge. It seems he has been responsible for several deaths.
Did he cannot how give testimony Cornelius yet Dumbledore he was staring hard at Fudge as though seeing him plainly for the first time. He cannot give evidence about why he killed those people, how he killed them. Well, that's no mystery, isn't it? Blustered Fudge. He was a raving lunatic. From what Minerva and Severus have told me, he seems to have thought he was doing it all on you-know-whose instructions. Lord Voldemort was giving him instructions, Cornelius said to Dumbledore, though people's nails were mere by-products of a plan to restore Voldemort to full strength. Again, the plan succeeded. Voldemort has been restored to his body. Fudge looked as though someone had just swung a heavy weight into his face. Dazed at the blinking, he stared back at Dumbledore as if he couldn't quite believe what he had just heard. He began to splutter, still goggling at Dumbledore. You know who returned? Preposterous came now Dumbledore, as Minerva Severus have doubtless told you, said Dumbledore. We heard Barty Crouch converse under the influence of their serum. He told us how he was smuggled out of Azkaban and how Voldemort, learning of his continued existence from Marta Jorkins, went to free him from his father and use him to capture Harry. The plan worked, I tell you. Crouch has helped Voldemort to return.
They heard Dumbledore, said Fudge, and Harry was astonished to see a slight smile dawning on his face. You can't seriously believe that. You know, back. Come now, certainly. Crouch may have believed himself to be acting unknown, you-know-whos, orders, but to take the word of a lunatic like that Dumbledore. When Harry touched the Triwizard Cup tonight, he was transported straight to Voldemort, said Dumbledore steadily. He witnessed Lord Voldemort's repairs. I will explain it all to you if you will step up to my office. Dumbledore glanced around at Harry and saw that he was awake, but shook his head and said, I'm afraid I cannot permit you to quench Harry tonight. Fudge's curious smile lingered. He too glanced at Harry, then looked back at Dumbledore and said, "You are prepared to take Harry's word on this, are you, Dumbledore?" There was a moment's silence, which was broken by Sirius Rowling. His hands were raised, and he was wearing his teeth at Fudge.
"Certainly, I believe Harry," said Dumbledore, his eyes very blazing now. "I heard Crouch's confession, and I heard Harry's account of what happened after he touched the treasured cup. The two stories make sense. They explain everything that has happened since Bertha Jocas disappeared last summer." Fudge studied hard, that strange smile on his face. Once again he glanced at Harry before answering. "You are prepared to believe that Lord Voldemort has returned on the word of a lunatic, murderer, and a boy who, well..." Fudge shot Harry another look, and Harry suddenly understood. "You've been reading Rita Skeeter, Mr. Fudge," he said quickly. "Ron, Hermione, Mr. Weasley, and Bill are jumped." None of them had realized that Harry was awake. Fudge returned sleaze, but a befound and obstinate look came over his face. "And if I have," he said, looking at Dumbledore, "if I have discovered that you've been keeping certain face about the boy very quiet, I persume of, and having funny touch all over the place. I assume that you are referring of the pains Harry has been experiencing in his skull," said Dumbledore coolly.
"You admit that he has been having these points then?" said Fudge quickly. "Hitches, nightmares, possible hallucination. Listen to me, Cornelius," said Dumbledore, taking a step towards Fudge, and once again he seemed to radiate that indefinable sense of power that Harry had felt after Dumbledore had stunned young Crouch. "Harry is as sane as you or I. That scare upon his forehead has not addled his brains. I believe it hurts him when Lord Voldemort is close by or feeling particularly murderous." Fudge had taken half a step back from Dumbledore, but he looked no less stubborn. "You forgive me, Dumbledore, but I've never heard of a crow's scare acting as an alarm bell before. Look, I saw Voldemort. Come back," Harry shouted. He tried to get out of bed again, but Mr. Weasley forced him back. "I saw the Death Eaters. I can give you their names. Lucius Malfoy,"
Snape made a sudden moment, but as Harry looked at him, Snape's eyes flew back to Fudge. Malfoy was cleared, said Fudge, visibly flaunted a very old family donations to excellent causes. McNair, Harry continued, also cleared, now working for ministry. Every note grumble girl.
You are merely repealing the names of those who were acquitted of being Death Eaters 13 years ago, said Fudge angrily. You could have found those names in old reports of the trials. For heaven's sake, Dumbledore, the boy was full of some crackpot story at the end of last year. Two his tales are getting taller and you're still swallowing them. The boy can talk to snakes, Dumbledore, and you still think he's trustworthy? You fool, Professor McGonagall cried. Cedric Diggory, Mr. Crouch. These deaths were not the random work of a lunatic. I see no evidence to the contrary, shouted Fudge. Now matching her anger, his face purpling, it seems to me that you're all determined to start a panic that will destabilize everything we have worked for these last 13 years. Harry couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had always thought of Fudge as a kindly figure, a little blustering, a little pompous, but essentially good-natured. But now a short, angry wizard stood before him, refusing point-blank to escape the prospect of destruction. In his comfortable, the ordered word to believe that Voldemort could have risen.
Voldemort has written, Dumbledore repeated, if you expand the facts straight away, Fudge, and take the necessary measures, we may still be able to save the situation. The first and most essential step is to remove Azkaban from the control of the Dementors. Prepotent shouted Fudge again, remove the Dementors, 8 be kicked out of office for standing it, have all and only feel safe in our batch at 9 because we know the Dementors are standing guard at Azkaban. The rest of us sleep less soundly in our beds. Cornelius, knowing that you have put Lord Voldemort's most dangerous supportant in the care of creatures who will join him the instant he asks them, said Dumbledore, they will not remain loyal to you. Fudge. Voldemort can fear them much more for their powers and their pleasures than you can with the Dementors behind him and his old supporters. Rounded to him, you will be hard-pressed to stop him regaining the sort of power he had in your ego. Fudge was opening and closing his mouth as though no words could express his outrage. The second step you must take at once. Dumbledore Pransons is to send envoys to the James Avons to the James Fudge shrieked, finding his tongue again. What modern's is this?
Them the head of friendship now before it is too late. Then Dumbledore Voldemort will pursue them as he did before. Once alone among wizards will give them the higher right and the freedom. You cannot be serious. Fudge scared, snaking his head, and reacting farther from Dumbledore. In his medical community could admit that I had appalled the given people, had them, Dumbledore, and of my career. You didn't send Dumbledore, his voice listened, now the aura of power around him. But his ideas blazing one more. By the law of office you call. Cornelius, you place too much important and you always have done. On the palette purity of truth. You fail to reconcile what is matters, how not someone is born, but the one grow to be you Voldemort has a destroyer, the one remember from a poor wood. Family is all the any and the seer one. Once the man choose to make of his, I tell you. Now take two spells I have subject and you will remember, in office or out, as one of the bravest and greatest ministers from magic. We will know, feel to act at history. Will remember you and the man who steepened Asia and allowed Voldemort a second chance to destroy the world you have tried to rebuild.
In sign, we spirit for still baking away mad, and them where was silence. Madame Perfect was studying for frozen and the foot of Harry's bed, her hands over her mouth. Mrs. Wesley was still standing over her hand on this shoulder to prevent him rising. Bill, Ron, and Hermione were staring at Fuji. If you determination to shut your eyes wish carry you as far as this. Cornelius said, double down. We have reached a parting of the ways. You must act as you see fit, and I shall act as I see fit. Dumbledore's voice carried no hint of a red. It sounded like a mere statement, but Fuji frizzled as shown. Dumbledore was advancing up him with a wand. Now see here, Dumbledore, he said, waving a threatening finger. I've given you free rein always. You had a lot of respect for you. I may not have agreed with some of your decisions, but you kept quiet. There aren't many what have let you wear werewolves of keep Hagrid of decide that to teach you student with both reference to the ministry, but if you're going to work against me, the only one against whom I intended to work, said Dumbledore, is Lord Voldemort. If you are against him, then we remain Cornelians of the same side. I summoned Fuji, something of no answer to this. He rocked basketballs, backwards and forwards on the small feet for a moment, and sharp his bowler head in this buns. Finally, he said with a hint of a player in his voice, he can't be back. Dumbledore can't be.
He stuck out his forearm and showed to Fudge how recalled. There, said Snape harshly, the dark mark. It is not unclear as it was an hour or so ago, when it burned black, but you can still see it every dusk. A tear had the. It was a means of distinguishing each other and his means of something as to him when he touched the mark of any thus as we were to disappoint and operate instantly at his side. This mark has been growing. Clear? Oh yeah, Karkaroff's too. Why do you think Karkaroff's feel touched? We Butch feel the mark burn. We Butch knew we had returned Karkaroff first the Dark Lord. Vengeance he bettered too many of his.
He grabbed his bowler hat on his heart and walked out of the room, slamming the door and dashing him. The moment he had disappeared, Dumbledore turned to look at the crowd around Harry's death. Sure is work to be done, he thought moodily. Am I wrong in things? Had I count on you and Arthur? Of course you can, said mercilessly. She was tweaked to the lips, but she looked resolved. He goes what food there is. It's Arthur fondness for muggles. Text has helped him back at the ministerial this years. For the thanks he lacks proper Vicent pride. And I needed to send a messenger to him, said Dumbledore, and house then had we can percent of the trend must be a naughty food immediate and Adhal is will plagued to contact a house at the ministry what not as show it as colonels. They go to that, said Bill. Stand up. They go no. Excellent, say Dumbledore. Heal him. What has happened? tell him I will hit to be desert November if for the thanks I am and Fox at the minister level it to me, said Bill. He clapped a hand on Harry's shoulder, kissed his mother on the cheek, bullet of his clown, and strode the cloud from the room. Miller, said Dumbledore, turning to present me Gonagall. I went to see Harry. Me of the officer as soon as possible. Also, if she will consent to me, Madame Maxime, Professor McGonagall nodded and left Beatles award.
Poppy, Dumbledore said to Madame Pomfrey, would you be very keen and go down to Professor Maggie's office, where I think you will find a house elf called Winky in considerable distress. Do what you can for her and take her back to the kitchens. I think Dobby will look after her for use. Very, very well, said Madame Pomfrey, looking startled, and she too left. Dumbledore made sure that the door was closed, and that Madame Pomfrey's footsteps had died away before he shot again. And now, he said, it is time for two of our number to recognize each other for what they are. Serious, if you called resume you usually form. The great black dog looked up at Dumbledore, then in us instant turned back into a man. Mrs. Weasley she met and leapt back from the bed. Sirius Black, the Sheik, pointing at him. Mom, shut up! Ron yelled its oak. Snape had not yelled or jumped backwards, but the look on his face was one of mingled fury and horror. He snarled, staring at Sirius was face, showed Quill dislike. What is he doing here? He is here at my innovation, said Dumbledore, looking between them as you, Cyrus. I trust you would. It is time for you to lay aside your old differences and trust each other. Harry thought Dumbledore was asking for a neat miracle. Sirius and Snape were eyeing each other with the utmost loation. I will settle in the short term, said Dumbledore with a bit of impatience in his voice. For a lack of open hostility, you will shake hands. You are on the same side now. Time is short and Ansel, the feel of use book know the truth stand unit. There is no hope for any of us. Very slowly but still glaring at each other as some each wished the other nothing but ill serious, and Snape moved towards each others and shook hands. They let go extremely quickly.
Wanted Sirius to style, he did not want to say goodbye. No, Quitty, you are see me very soon, Harry said. Sirius, turning to him, I drag you, but I'm mine. Do what I can. You are not cute, don't you? Yes, said Harry. Yeah, of course I do. Sirius raised his head briefly, not that to Dumbledore. They transferred again into the black dog and ram the hands of the route, said door, whose handle key turned with a pencil. He was on black eyes. Littera, strangely they could talk, said Dumbledore, and he watched a trace of sprinkles on his face, a nice sweat brought temple of the Sirius. Odd it was swirl minute before Dumbledore spoke. This said Dumbledore, stepping between them on more now. I have work for each of you. A fascinating at what though not as excellent challenge everything. Sirius, I need no two set of audience. You are too elder. Real who see Arabella, Figmandicus, Fletcher, the old crowd, lie sleep at.
You've got to take the rest of your potion, Harry, Mr. Weasley said at last. Her hand nudged the sack of gold on his bedside cabinet as she reached for the bottle and the goblet. You have a good long sleep. Try and think about something else for a while. Think about what you're going to buy with your winnings. I don't want that gold, said Harry in an expressionless voice. You have it, Noel can have it. I shouldn't have won it. I should be been Cedric's. The thing against which he had been thinking on and off ever since he had come out of the maze was threatening to overpower him. He could feel a burning, prickling feeling in the inner corners of his eyes. He blinked and started up at the ceiling. It wasn't your fault, Harry, Mr. Weasley whispered. I told him to take the cup with me, said Harry. Half the burning feeling was in his throat too.
he wished that Ron would look away.
Mrs. Willis set the potion down on the bedside cabinet, bent down and put her arms around Harry. Her no memory of ever being hugged like this, even though by a mother, the full waste of everything he had since that night, seeming to fall in upon him. Mrs. Willis held him to her, his mother voice, his father voice, the sight of Cedric, dead on the ground, all started spinning, his hair in tile, he cold, hardly buried in tile, he was cradling on his face against the foul misery, fighting to get away of him. There was the lonely smelling noise, and Mrs. Willis and Harry broke apart. Hermione was standing by the window. She was holding something tied in her hand. Sorry, she whispered. Your poor Harry, thanked Mrs. Willis quickly, pawing her eyes on the back of Harry. Harry drank in ignoring the effect was instantaneous. Harry, very irritable, face fell, dreamless sleep broke over him. He erred back and topics, pillows, and found no more.